Good morning, St. Andrew Presbyterian Church. My name is Justin Sunberg, and I greet you from Managua, Nicaragua. And there are several things that I would like to share with you this morning. I'd like to tell you a little bit about my wife, Renee, and I, and our 4 kids. We are mission co-workers here through the PCUSA. I would also like to tell you a little bit about our local host partner and why they are making such a big difference in this country. And I'd like to tell you the story of 1 or 2 people whose lives and communities have been changed because of the work that we're all doing together. And then I think at the end, I'd like to invite you to become a part of it and help you to know how that can happen. So, a little bit first about me and my wife and our children. We're from Seattle. We're we love the Northwest, and nevertheless, we always hoped that someday we might leave the Northwest, that we might live somewhere outside of the United States. And that dream came true almost 3 years ago when we began our 4-year commitment with Presbyterian World Mission here in Nicaragua. Before we left Seattle, my wife had been an associate pastor at University Presbyterian Church for on and off for over 20 years. And I worked for a Christian international development organization working in Central America, interestingly. I did that for 13 years. And our kids, before we moved, were in early elementary school and were excited to move. It took a little time when we first shared the news. I think within a minute we had 2 that were crying. But in short order, they were excited about the new adventure, and they've really done great here. They're enrolled in a German Nicaraguan school that has 600 almost entirely Nicaraguan students, so they're the only pasty white little kids around, but they fit in great and love it, and have learned so much from their Nicaraguan classmates. It's been a real treat to learn from them as they've learned. What else to say about us? We feel privileged to work with you. Thank you for inviting us to share with you this morning. We look forward to getting to know you. Our job really is to do just that with Presbyterian congregations, to help bridge this Nicaraguan ministry that's called CEPAD with your church, help you figure out how to engage in global outreach. So we host teams, we help you plan mission trips, we help you feel connected to our local partner. We're a bridge. We hope that we're sort of invisible, really, along the way, and that congregations will get caught up, really, in the work of this Christian development organization, this NGO that I just mentioned, whose name is CEPAD. Absolutely stunning in its efficacy and in the way in which God has used it. So I'll tell you a little bit more about that, but let's see. Let's move on. Let's talk about what we need to talk about CEPAD, and then we can talk about how you can get involved. CEPAD started in a devastating moment in this country's history. It was in the wake of the earthquake of December 23rd, 1972, so 45 years ago. It destroyed the city. It literally destroyed the city, and it has never really recovered. It has never really rebuilt to the status and point that it once was in terms of its development. And in the wake of that, a local pastor and medical doctor, he was both, called on friends of his who were pastors in other denominations, and they decided to work together to mobilize their congregations to provide food for the 200,000 homeless. And they did that. Their congregations made up to 30,000 meals a day for a period of time. And then it became clear that that wasn't going to be enough, that the people who were left homeless were going to need long-term accompaniment and training to restart their lives. And so this has become a Christian development organization. Our sweet spot is working in the rural areas because that's the part of the country where people are most vulnerable, where people live off the land, try to live off the land. And in an era with global climate change and drought in recent years since we moved here, it's a very precarious and challenging environment. There are about 2 to 2.5 million people that live in the rural parts of the country and that grow beans and corn, and that is how they try to get by. They really have no other income. And so we help them to improve their crop yields. We introduce them to new kinds of crops, produce, to help improve their diets. And we also help them to get organized. If they can learn to band together and learn how to run meetings and write project proposals, they can get big things done in their communities, like get electricity when they otherwise have never had it, when they can get roads built into their communities or improved roads so they can leave and get education or sell their produce at market. We help them to know how to come to their local mayor's office and get clean water or more potable water for irrigation, or for drinking rather, and enough water for irrigation of their crops. A whole host of things that we as North Americans take for granted that are life-giving and completely life-altering and changing for people here. So that's CEPAD in a nutshell. I could give you more statistics about how many people with whom we work, how many people with whom we have worked over the years, but I'd like to put a face to it all and tell you about Margarita. Margarita is one of these rural folks whose life was turned upside down really when she learned how to sew through CEPAD and was given a trade, a vocation. And in doing so, she was able to earn a bit of an income. And not much, but some. And with some income, her life is so different. Why could just a small amount of income make a difference? Well, you've probably already raced ahead of me on that one. It allows her to buy food when there is a drought, when there's not enough food. And it kept her kids in school. So often, people take their children out of school because they can't afford to buy the backpack or the simple school supplies, pencils, notebooks, glue, scissors that they need. And so they take them out of school in 4th grade or in 2nd grade or even in 1st grade. But if you have some income, you first use your money to feed yourself and your family and to keep your kids in school. We would do the same thing. And so it's such a joy to see this story, but multiplied by thousands. One of the things we ask people to do is to train others. So when they've received the gift of a new trade, they take it upon themselves to share that with others. And so Margarita has done that with a dozen other women. So you can see the multiplier effect. This is a beautiful story because it also illustrates the role of the U.S. Church. They were able to get the sewing machines that they own because of their partnership, their friendship with a church in Louisville, Kentucky that visits them regularly. And so together they came up with this vision of training and sewing and making some income, and they've journeyed that road together over the years. And let's see. I want to tell you the story about a North American, a woman who came and participated on a short-term mission trip. It was just 36 hours into her visit when she was reflecting on the previous night where she had stayed in someone's home here rather than in our main headquarters. That sometimes happens. And so just in a short time in someone's home, she was really blown away by how beautiful these people were, their hearts, their souls, even in spite of the lack of material things. And that really struck her. And she was talking about her shopping list. She said, you know, before I came to Managua, I had to just leave in my Amazon shopping cart an order. I wasn't able to complete it. And when I go back, I'm going to complete that order. I have to buy these things. But it's not going to give me the happiness that I was anticipating. I just know that it's not going to give me really any joy. And I think that's just a tremendous story, too, to illustrate how our hearts and minds can be, how we can grow, how we can grow in our discipleship journeys as Christians, as we reorient and see with new eyes and experience relationship and serve. So we invite you to be a part of this work. We invite you to pray. Please pray for this ministry here, CEPAD. Pray for our family as we live here and sometimes find it very difficult. Give of your conversation and advocacy and all the ways that in time will make sense as you share about the stories you'll hear. Give of your finances as a church and give of your finances personally to help this ministry continue strong and to reach more people here. And then come in short-term mission. Come and experience this beautiful country, the land of lakes and volcanoes, absolutely beautiful, bounded by the Pacific and Atlantic Oceans with 16 volcanoes, 8 of them active, 2 beautiful, huge lakes in the center of the country, but with such great need. And you can be a part of making a difference here, and you can leave changed. So thank you for these few moments this morning. God's best to you in Christ this Sunday and in your week to come, and especially as you begin to journey with CEPAD and Presbyterian World Mission in Nicaragua.